welcome to another edition of Sundance Vision Art and Life. My name is Adewale Booker Jr. Please review us, rate us, give us a 5-star, don't be a hater. Today's guest, he's my mentor. He's the gentleman who told me how to do all these drawings, awesome drawings that I'm doing. He's the former head of the art department at Long Beach City College, which is why the school is awesome. Mr. Larry White, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
I'm good,
You're looking
sir.
good.
Looking good. You're looking good, sir. It's good to see you. It's always good to see you. So I've had you on the show multiple times, and every time I bring you on, it's always about, like, giving a lot of artists knowledge, because I feel like a lot of artists out there don't have the knowledge it takes to be successful. So one of the reasons why I like to bring you on is because you're the former head of the art department at Long Beach City College, which happens to be one of the best art schools in the country. And if you don't know about the school, Google it. So,
best foundation program.
yes,
So
I think so. But I think also what I like about it, as far as aside from the foundation, it can really give you enough tools to do what you need to do to be successful. Because me, after that, all I did was go to Orange Coast College, learn animation, and I am where I am today because of that. I didn't have to go to a four-year university and owe a bunch of money. So, for me, go ahead, sir.
The foundation allows you to build.
Yes, sir.
You need a firm foundation, whatever you're building. So, yeah, our program was, and I think still is, one of the best around. And from there, you can go on to whatever you want to do. If you want to go out on your own, you're ready to do it. If you want to go on to a 4-year college, you're more than prepared.
That's what I like to hear. So, sir, what we're going to do is we got these awesome questions for you. And we're going to start off with the first one. What was it like being the head of the art department in terms of the responsibilities, the leadership? You got to fund the program and all kinds of crazy stuff that you have to do. Because I used to look at your face in the office and be like, man, Mr. White looks like he's having one of them stressful days, man.
Okay. It is a lot of responsibility, but, it's something that I sought. I wanted to do that job. And I wanted to, basically what I wanted to do was to build an art department that was based upon the things that had really worked for me when I was going to school. And that was to have really great artists, not teachers first, but artists first. And people that were passionate about their work, because those were the people that influenced me the most. And Long Beach City College is the third largest college in the California community college system. And our art department had more students than a lot of colleges do. There were the equivalent of 2,000 full-time students in our program. We had 60 part-time faculty and 12 full-time faculty. We ran over 200 classes a semester, and our budget was just a little over $2 million a year. And while I didn't have to raise that money, and a good portion of it I had nothing to do with, that included salaries, and I didn't have anything to do with what people were getting paid. But there was a substantial supply account and other discretionary things, and I had to make sure that the people that were teaching knew what they were supposed to be doing. The plus part of it was being able to build something, just like creating any type of artwork, having a project, having a focus, knowing where you want to go, and then working towards that goal. Something I used to say in class, I don't know if you remember it or not, is that it's always important to have a goal, but don't be set on arriving at what you think that goal is.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you used to tell me that all the time, yeah.
The point is you have something you're trying to achieve, and along the way, things come up and develop, and you gain new ideas, and you try to move on beyond what your initial goal was. So that was really the great thing about being department head, was seeing these things come together, faculty coming into our program, and really being able to see it grow and gain a reputation. That's the really great part of it. The downside, of course, is dealing with an administration that really has no interest in art. What they're interested in is how many bodies can you get in a classroom and how much revenue can you generate for the college. And that was like the least of my concern. So, there was some give and take there.
Man.
But, speaking of that, I just read in the LA Times today that a former faculty member in the department, Monica Majoli, just received a $25,000 grant from the Hammer Museum.
Oh, cool.
For achievement in the arts, and I can't remember what the other line was in it. But, that really made me feel great to see, I'm going through the paper in the morning like I do every day, and there's Monica, big headline, California artist receives grant from the Hammer Foundation, and I thought, well, there you go.
Well, that's your, you know how they say, like in coaching, the coaching tree? So you have the artist tree. So, you've got me, you got Avery Mitchell, you've got all these other people that you have taught, and it was just fortunate enough that, I don't know, that for me, I can't say what's going on at school now, but for me, I feel like it was a golden era when you were there, because you were the head of the department, but you were also a teacher too. So I came in at the right time and happened to have a drive, but then happened to have a great teacher too, because you're not going to get that lucky all the time where everything just lines up.
Yeah, and not tooting my own horn.
You should, I would.
But I am to a certain degree. There was a period where the art department was at its zenith, and that was while you were there, where we had every classroom full every day of the week and every night of the week as well. The problem I had was finding space to put in more stuff, and I couldn't.
Yep.
We were maxed out, and that was really great. That's no longer the case, but, I have nothing to do with that.
Well, but that lab, because that lab was always full. And the reason, like you said, it's no longer the case. And this is what happens to schools like that. Leadership. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether Long Beach City College still gets in touch with you, but if they had any sense, they're like, Mr. White, would you like to come in as a consultant? Like they do in the NFL, where they pay you consultant money, put a little something in your pocket, let you consult, man, so they can get this mess on track.
I wasn't as I caused more trouble for administration than
but you need that. You need that, because you used to tell me that. I'd come into your office and I'd be like, Mr. What's going on? He'd be like, Adewale, these guys are getting on my nerves. I said, of course they're getting on your nerves, because they're idiots. All they care about is money. They don't care about the substance of what brings the money. They're forgetting that the substance is what brings the money. The art classes, the coolness of it, the learning, the ability to take what you're learning and go do something with it is what's bringing more students.
I have to admit, though, that the faculty within the department, I've in a sense become legend. They talk about, well, when Larry White was here,
exactly.
He would have done this and that, and the other thing is that most people that serve as department head, it's who wants to step up to this?
Right.
And everybody in the lines takes a step backwards, and whoever was left out there standing on their own is the guy that gets it.
That is terrible.
Whereas I actually wanted to do it, and that's a whole different thing.
Man.
So since then, it's been people who have been filling the job, but they didn't want to be doing it. They'd take care of the schedule the classes and this and that, but they didn't have an idea of changing the department or making it something that it hadn't been yet. Yeah. And that really was my focus.
Growing it some more, because they probably didn't also have the passion that you have, sir. And the passion that you had was what really, you could tell, because in class, one of the things used to infuriate you. You'd give a project, which is probably going to be my next question. Might as well ask the next question, but it's like, you give a project, okay guys, I want you to draw this. But when you draw this, I don't want it to be what you saw. I want it to be what you want it to be. And I don't think a lot of students understand that. Even faculty, when you leave something like what you left with Long Beach City College, the last thing that should happen is that you go down the tanker. It's like hiring Tony Dungy, and then you replace him with some bum that like just came from college, and they go 15-1 when Dungy was there and win the Super Bowl, and then he comes in there and go like 5-11. Like, dude, it's the same players. That means you're a terrible leader. So moving on to the next question, right? What was your favorite type of project to give your students? Because you gave many projects, but what was your favorite type of project to give your students?
I think always something that moved you out of your comfort zone, where you're thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do here. And as you started, you really don't know what you're doing. But then as the project develops, you begin to think, oh, I see, I got this going on, and I can go in this given direction. A project that I think of was one that was based on, and I did this a lot with my class, basing my projects on things that had been very successful for me as a student. And when I was going to California College of Arts, it was California College of Arts and Crafts then, I had an English instructor, Michael McClure, you can look him up. He was one of the great beat poets of San Francisco, with Lawrence Ferlinghetti and Gregory Corso and Allen Ginsberg. There's a whole crew of those guys. And what he did was he had us write down words that meant something to us personally, or we liked the sound of the word, or just words that we felt some form of attachment to, and write them down on separate pieces of paper or cards, and then shuffle them and deal them to create poetry. And I used a variation of that project where I asked you to come up with a series of random nouns and adjectives and verbs, and then again deal them out so that you create a short sentence that may not make much sense at all, but it creates an image or a thought or a feeling, and then to make a visual piece of work that represents those words.
I remember that, because I remember that's the project you gave me an A on. And I think the only reason why you gave me an A on this is because I had Fela Kuti in there. And I know how you feel about Fela Kuti. He was like, I'm not giving this dude a B with Fela Kuti in this project. Hell no. I know you're a big...
It was probably a B project, but when you have Fela Kuti, it came up a level.
That's what I was saying. I tell people all the time, it was the greatest A of my life. And I think I got that A because I had Fela Kuti in there. He's like, oh, hell no. He got Fela Kuti, and I can't give this dude a B+. Because at the time, and I think one of the things I loved about your projects was you always made the project make you uncomfortable, but also, too, you always told the students, just because you start off with A does not mean you're going to end up with Z. You got to find out what's between A and Z and how much things is going to be added on that journey, And one question is, because I asked this question, but why do you always give these kind of projects, that particular project? Why? Is it a mental thing? Is it a conditioning thing?
Mental. I want people to think in ways that they don't normally, to force them to do things that are new experiences. And that's what learning is all about, is getting to some place that you haven't been before.
So basically, you think a lot of artists, because based on your experience, a lot of artists are too comfortable in their own zone or whatever.
If a person's allowed to sit back and have a beer and watch television all day, or, it's the natural state of things where you want to be comfortable. You don't like getting, out on those edges. But it's only by exploring the edges that you're able to grow your circle. You know what I mean?
Right.
You've got to expand yourself, and the only way you expand is to take it to the edge.
Wow. And do you think that's hurting Long Beach City College now? Because when you were there, there was always an adventure. That's probably what I loved most about your art classes. They were adventures. I feel like the adventures have left the school, the art department specifically.
I don't think so. Really, I think that all of the faculty that were there when I was there and are still there are doing great work. you know, there's a combination. You have to show people basic skills. Like if you're teaching painting, you have to teach them how you mix paint, how you use different colors together. And the same thing sort of holds true with what I did, computer graphics, where you have to teach people about the tools, but you have to have a means by which they use the tools. So I would give this project, and then in accomplishing the project, I would, if you remember, I'm sure you do remember, but the class structure was basically I would present a problem, and then the rest of and give a short lecture, and then the rest of the class I would go from student to student, talking to you individually about what tools you were using, how you could use them better, trying to correct any mistakes that you were making before they became habits.
Right.
And, just trying to put that knowledge and information out there.
Would you like me to call Long Beach City College so they can give you some consultant money? You can come in there once a week and tell them a little something. It's ridiculous. I mean, like I said, it was the golden era. I don't think you're ever going to see anything like that anyway. And plus, the talent of students that came through there. That was another thing, because you had great teachers, but then you had talented students that wanted it too. So this brings us on to our next question. What is different today in art education versus when you were coming up as an artist? Because there's a big, big divide now. I mean, big.
That's a really tough question, because at an elemental level, I would say nothing has changed. It's still the same. It's a person in the front of the class with hopefully a degree of knowledge and understanding of their craft, and they're able to transfer that information to the students. But the technology, of course, has changed since I was teaching and since I was a student. I remember when I was doing undergraduate work at Arts and Crafts, we had a video program. It was one of the first in the country. And our cameras were enormous. You had a suitcase that carried the batteries and the reel-to-reel deck, and then this cable that was about as thick as a garden hose.
Oh my God.
That went to a camera that was probably 12 inches by 6 inches wide by 10 inches high, and it was black and white.
Oh my God.
640 resolution. But, the technology changed. But I think the essential character, the, human interaction, is probably pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's funny, because I guess it's more, because I think what a lot of students now are looking at is like the cost of schooling. Obviously, I don't know how much it is to go to Long Beach City College anymore. One of the reasons why I asked that question is because I feel like even for me, at my age, the guys that are 10 years younger than me aren't getting the luxuries that I had when you were teaching. Aside from price, it's mostly the organic aura of just teaching, because what they're doing is a lot of schools are putting pressures on teachers, faculty, and the administration is trying to save some dollars and put in their pocket, versus thinking like, okay, the teachers matter. Why are we chopping their money? Because you dealt with that. I remember you dealt with that a lot. It was infuriating. So, that's why I asked that question. The education, I feel like is like I don't know. It's not what it used to be. And I guess maybe it's like buying a bag of Doritos. We still call it 8 ounces, but we really got 6.7 in there. That's basically what they're doing.
I think it's probably like a wave. It goes up and down.
Right.
And right now I think we're moving in a great direction.
Okay.
Lots of community college is free for students these days. When I graduated from high school, the community college system was completely free. It was just like you finish high school, you go, if you wanted to go to community college, You just went and registered and took whatever classes you wanted,
Right.
however many you wanted. And the state college system was like $100 a year or something like that. I mean, it was next to nothing. And, it just kept, the cost of going to school is ridiculous.
Yes.
I mean, it is just completely out of hand. Nobody should go broke going to school. It's just a crime. So, and I think that's changing, and I hope it is.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling with the current administration, and if things are allowed to continue in that direction, that education will be available to anybody who wants it again.
Yeah, because I heard something about, he was saying, the Biden administration was saying that specifically community colleges, anyways, what I heard, are going to be free, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going to Long Beach City College, one of the greatest art schools like in the country, for free? Heck yeah, I'll sign me up again. I'll move back to Cali just for that. At least I'll do it digitally anyway. If you're teaching, but if you're not teaching, I'm not interested, because at this point, I should be teaching the classes. They should bring me as a special guest. Like, hey, this guy is one of our former students. He's a superstar now. So on to our next question, sir. How does an artist, because you've been a freelance artist, how does an artist run a successful freelance business if they're not working for somebody?
Discipline is the most important thing. And you've got to be motivated and driven to work. It's a thing of, if you didn't have any customers, would you be doing your work anyway? And if you would be, all right, you've got that covered. You're motivated. You want to do this stuff. And the second is being able to connect with people. We're talking freelance. You've got to be able to talk to people, relate to them, build confidence in them, and you can only do that if you have confidence in yourself. And, just commitment is the primary thing. You have to have a commitment to your work and to learning. And I stopped for a second, because what I was going to say is you have to listen to your client. And when I'm saying that, I'm thinking, you also got to know when you don't listen to your client.
Yeah, because a lot of them don't know anything. They straight don't know jack.
Well, they have an idea of what they might want, but they really don't know what they want. And that's why they came to you.
Right.
And in a delicate and diplomatic way, you have to be able to let them know that, you came to me for a reason. Right. If you end up, you don't like it, okay, then fine. But I was thinking about a project. I have a friend who puts on these concerts out in the desert. Not really concerts, they're more like raves. Okay. Electronic EDM. And it's sort of like Burning Man light.
Okay.
And I do the posters or announcements for him. And so I've done a few, and so now he sends me the pictures and says, well, I'd like to have this and this and this. And he sent just a couple days ago, he sent me a group of pictures, and he said what he wanted to have, and I said, you'll get what I do and like it.
Did you tell him what price you charge too? Oh my God. I love that, because very few artists think like the way we're thinking. You get to that point as an artist where you don't give a damn. You know your price. You're not going to devalue yourself. You're not going to negotiate it either. When they have a lot of customers. What I try to do is bring them back to earth. Okay, you want me to do this? Now let's talk about what's realistic, because you don't know how to use anything in this program. So you describe something to me, but I'm going to tell you what it's going to be when we bring it to reality. I think the second half of that question is something I wanted to ask. Being a freelance artist versus working for somebody, the pros and cons, of course, you work for yourself, you're free. But when you work for somebody, do you recommend working for somebody? Because a lot of people work for somebody, but they hate their job. They make them to hate art, which is horrible.
Yeah, that's not a good situation to be in.
No, and I've done it before. What would you recommend to artists that are up and coming? Because people listen to this show, and that's what I always tell artists. You can work for somebody, but you might not enjoy it.
Yeah, and the thing is, you might not enjoy it, but you're probably going to learn some really great skills.
Right.
So you got to think, well, I hate this job, but I'm learning how to do this. And now I know how a printing press works. And so I know when I make my artwork, I have to do these sorts of things in order for it to end up being a usable item. Right. You don't do stuff for print in RGB when the press runs CMYK. Just simple stuff like that. After I went to school and I had a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in general fine arts, and that basically enabled me to get a job at any McDonald's or grocery store in the country. But I went to work. I had to find a job, and I had a friend that had a printing company that did packaging, and he said, "Can you do camera ready art?" And I said, "Sure. What is it?" And so I went to the print shop and saw what camera ready art was, and I could do that. I know how I could put that together, and it was basically operating rubber cement, X-Acto knife, a pen, and T-square and ruler.
Wow!
And I could do all that stuff. Right. So from there, I learned a lot of great skills. I learned how to do that process, essentially graphic design. I also learned how to do all of the pre-press operations, plate making, working with negatives, step and repeat, just all sorts of different stuff. And I left the job because I didn't like it, but I came away with a lot of skills. And I think that's the way you got to approach it. And if you've got a job you don't like and you're not learning anything, then just leave. Yeah. Just go do something else.
That's for sure. I mean, that if it doesn't benefit you and if it's not adding any benefit to your life, then you're going to have to just be like, look, I need to move in the direction that I want to go in. So that's important. So now, this is the last question right here. What do you think is the future of art in terms of programs, platform, service, and anything else that you might think of that's important to pull art in the direction where it can be a great way to earn a living, but also to the craft can continue to be what it is to grow?
When you talk about art here, and programs, you're talking about digital art.
Yeah, and also too, what about where it could be also too painting also too? Because I think slowly, like I feel like maybe painters and those who don't do digital art are getting left behind too. But everything is digital now too. Even painting is digital. I mean, it's just a fact.
Well, yeah, there's digital painting. Yeah, but you're not going to go into too many museums and see a gallery filled with digital paintings printed on glycine. You'll see some stuff. A great example is David Hockney, and he continues to paint by hand. He continues to do photography and collage. His photography, of course, now is digital. His paintings are still by hand. And he also does other stuff using computers. So I think for digital artists, changes in programs, the biggest change I see is subscription software. Right. It used to be you buy a version of Adobe Illustrator, it's yours. And they'll come out with new versions and whatever, and if you like the one you've got, you've still got it. And it's going to continue to work forever. Now, if you're using the Adobe platform, you buy a subscription, and every year it comes due.
Oh, yes. Or every month, maybe.
Or every month, depending on how you do it.
Right.
And that's a big difference because that requires you to, I'm paying a certain amount of money for this, and I got to be using it. You just can't get the subscription and forget about it.
Yep.
Because you're just throwing the money away at that point. So there's that difference. I see augmented reality,
Okay.
AR,
That's
is
interesting.
you've heard of course, of virtual reality.
Right.
That's a completely synthetic environment that you're in. Augmented reality is where digital elements can be put into a space.
Whoa.
So, for example, I just recently I went to REI, the sporting goods company,
Okay.
and I was looking at this tent, and it had a little link or a button to click for an AR experience of the tent, and I clicked on it, and I was sitting in my living room, and on the screen, the tent was put up in my living room.
Whoa.
And so I could move around, I was using my phone, and I could move around and look at it from different angles, and I literally walked inside and looked out. So it constructs, with augmented reality, you construct digital elements that exist in real world.
Right.
An example, I did a tour of SoFi Stadium, and at the front of it, they there's this thing that says, take your picture with the players, and you choose which players you want to have your picture taken with, and they all come up into the camera view, and there you are standing with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and Cooper Kupp, and bam, it takes the picture. I'll send it to you.
Oh yeah, this I gotta see.
But I think augmented reality is a very important new medium. And I was thinking a couple of years ago, about a year and a half, no, it was 2 years ago, the LA County Museum of Art had this VR piece that was done by, he's a Mexican film director, Guillermo something, I think that's who it was. And you walk into a room, and they gave you a headset, and mounted it on you and everything. And on the floor was covered with loose gravel, so it kind of crunched under your feet. And when it started, you found yourself in the desert Southwest.
What the?
Before dawn, and you turn around, look, you see all the bushes and stuff around you, and you're with a group of Mexicans trying to make it across the border.
Wow.
And you get intercepted by the Border Patrol. And so I'm in this thing watching it all, like a passive observer,
right.
And I'd move around and I'd look at people getting arrested and walk in different areas. But what I didn't realize was that I actually was one of the people in the scene, and the police came up to me at one point. This was towards the end, and that's when I realized, wait a minute, I could have run and hid. I could have done a whole lot of stuff in here. I was actually part of it. I mean, it's very much like a game, but it was presented as a piece of artwork in the museum.
Wow.
And it was a much different. It was very impressive. That's all I can say.
It seems like, and for those who don't want to move with this wave of where the future is going, what's going to happen to them? Because you got these artists, and as well as you know what I'm talking about. They are always trying to be on some. Well, I'm old school. I don't go on the internet. I only go to the library. Okay, good luck with that, buddy.
Well, all I can say is there is still film photography.
Right.
The uses and extent of it is very limited. It went from, in the 70s, everybody who had a camera had a film camera.
Right.
You got your film developed. You went to the store to do it, or you went, you did it yourself. You had prints, and now digital photography. Everybody's got a video camera and a regular camera, high resolution camera that they carry in their pocket all the time.
Yep.
So digital or film photography or wet photography didn't go away. It just got repurposed. And every new technology doesn't replace a previous technology. It just repurposes it.
Right.
So when I was coming up as a graphic designer, I had to go to a typesetter, either a digital typesetter or a traditional photo. For me, photo. There was lead type also that I had to deal with, but more than anything else, it was photo typography. And you had companies like CompuGraphic that were the powerhouses in typesetting.
Man.
And so I'd have to go get my type from one person. I'd have to get my film work from somebody else. I'd have to, it all was very compartmentalized. And then came a personal computer that did your typesetting for you, did your camera work for you, did all of this other stuff. All of those old technologies are still around and they're still used, but they're very limited. So if you're doing whatever you're doing, the technology and the means by which the work is done is going to continue to change, and you can change with it, or you can say, I'm going to fit into this little niche and that's where I am. I know people in the Bay Area that do letterpress books. They're essentially fine art pieces at this point, but they're still doing it.
Right. Well, I mean, like for me, for example, I'm into animation, as you know, and I like to draw. One thing about drawing is I love the feel of a pencil in my hand. I love that. That's first and foremost. Always do that every Sunday. But then, like this comic book I'm working on, doing it digitally saved me a lot of time because the file got corrupted when I started. So you can imagine doing 4 pages. I spent almost a year doing that, and I lost all 4 pages. Like, oh my God. So thank God for digital. I'm not saying don't do analog or whatever you want to call it, but digital really can make what you're doing a lot better. Like the scene that you talked about, being in the scene that you weren't really there, but you were really there. I mean, that's so cool. That is so cool. I mean, do you think that people, I guess, like for example, even though you came from, I guess, I don't know what to call it, maybe old school era, but the thing about you is you are always open to being modernized. Not everybody has that mind state.
Yeah. Everybody's worked with people that say, this is the way I did it back in '02, and you got to do it this way because that's the right way to do it. You go, yeah, well, I can do this twice as fast and it gets the same result.
Oh, God. It's ridiculous. But, that's why we love bringing you on the show, sir. And, sir, I want to thank you so much for being on the show again. I mean, I just love having you on the show because every time you come on the show, it reminds me of me being in class again. I'm like, I'm learning again. It's really an awesome feeling. It really is. That's what it feels like. That's why I love having you on the show. So, sir, I want to thank you for coming on. So what's going on with you in terms of your website? Where can people go to check out anything you might be working on that you want them to check out? Your Instagram, all that good stuff.
Tell you the truth, I can't remember what my Instagram is.
I know, I click it. I always like something on there.
I don't know what it is.
Larry Surfer. Okay, y'all, if y'all find Sanusi Vision, you'll find Larry White's stuff. So just look for mine and find his.
Hashtag artist handyman.
Okay, artist handyman. Okay, y'all heard that. Okay.
Hashtag artist handyman and hashtag Larry White surfboards.
Okay, all right. And I know you make surfboards, so you want to tell them a little something about your surfboards because they're super sick. They're really cool.
Here's an example of digital and analog meeting. Making surfboards has always been a handcraft. You get a giant chunk of foam and you cut it and you carve it and sand it and make the shape that you need. I'm going to guess about 15 years ago, they started doing things where they would scan. You could make a surfboard and using a 3D scanner, scan that surfboard, and then using a large milling machine, you could then cut the surfboard and cut out like 80% of the labor that you had to do.
Wow.
By doing it all by hand. So you get the surfboard cut down almost to a finished shape, and then it's just a matter of smoothing out the surfaces and making little tweaks to it. So a lot of the surfboards that I make are based on ones that I've made previously and had scanned. So I can change the size a little bit, make it a little larger, smaller, thicker, whatever, get it cut, which is the process of having it milled,
Right.
pick it up, finish it out in a hurry. Some people don't even make an original. They design the surfboard on the machine, on their computer, and then have it cut. So there's no, real surfboard that they're basing it on to begin with. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I like to make a board by hand completely, write it, see if it works, and then I'll go have it scanned.
Man, that's interesting. So you take the other approach because I guess you want to feel the product in your hand, the item. You still want to have like your hands created this item.
It's more I just don't trust myself to make one from scratch in the 3D program.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's going to work the way I think it's going to. Whereas when I build it by hand first, I know what I've got there.
Right.
I've been doing it enough years.
How many years, if I may ask, that you've been making these surfboards?
I started in 1980.
Oh my God, dang. I know you got a surfboard that's almost as old as I am. You gotta have one. Or at least that's older than me too.
The oldest board I have that I made in 1981.
Wow.
I got it out in the backyard. So I don't know when you were born.
I was born in 79, so that I'm going on 42. I'm going to be 42 this year. So you got one that's 2 years younger than me. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it still floats and still works.
And still, man, that's just awesome. So that's awesome, sir. Look, like I said again, thanks for being on the show. It's always good to have you on, and I'm going to have you on again. I'll think of some reason, find some excuse just to bring you on, because it's a learning experience for me.
I know what the reason is. You like going to school for free.
That's for sure. I wish that $46 a unit I was paying Long Beach City College, I need to get a reimbursement or something. Good Lord, man. They need to give me something, so I'm saying. So before I let you go, how the Rams going to do this year? Because I know you love the Rams.
Hey, we're going to the Super Bowl this
Super Bowl, man? Just going? You ain't going to win?
Oh, yeah, we'll win.
Okay.
We went once before. This time we're winning.
What about your boy Matt Stafford? How you feeling about that dude?
Practices start this coming week.
Right.
So I'm gonna get a chance to actually see him in person doing it.
Okay.
And I've never felt so strong about the team in my life as I do right now.
Right.
I mean, Aaron Donald is ripped and ready for action. Jalen, you got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. I can't think of the outside linebacker we got from last year.
He's like a hybrid. Oh man, Fowler.
Yeah,
Fowler. I think it's Fowler. Is who you're talking about?
No, Fowler's gone. Leonard Floyd.
Okay.
Yeah, Floyd took Fowler's place basically.
Okay.
And Darius Williams, cornerback. We lost a lot of good people, but I swear to God, man, the team is deep.
You're right.
I don't see any problems. The defense is going to be every bit as good as it was last year.
Right.
And the offense with somebody that can move and throw as accurately as Stafford can, and the receivers we got, I don't see anybody stopping us.
Stafford's not going to have any excuse for being bad anymore. That much I can tell you. So, and
he was never bad before.
Yeah. So he's just on a bad team. Just on a bad team.
Yeah. This is not a bad team at all.
No, I don't see it. So y'all, Mr. White is jacked about the football season, which I was thinking starting September 7th. Labor Day, I believe, weekend, maybe?
No, it's September 2nd, I think, is our first game.
Yeah, right.
It's Sunday night against the Bears.
Right. So, y'all, that's going to conclude our show. And if you are in the LA area, Long Beach area, as Mr. White said, Long Beach City College is where it's at. So I want to thank Mr. White again for being on the show, and that will conclude our show. So I want to thank y'all for listening. This podcast is produced, written, and directed by Adewale Wilker Jr. I want to thank Mr. White for being the awesome teacher and mentor that he is. Please check out our website at sciencefictionshop.com. Please subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen, whether that's Apple, Deza, Spotify, Amazon Music, and you can also listen on our website at sciencefictionshop.com. Please follow us on our media platforms at Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all at Science Vision. Please review us, rate us, give us a 5-star, don't be a hater. And as always, continue to aspire and achieve. Have a great week. Stay safe, y'all. Peace.